Hello, sweet friend. My name is Micah, and in this video, I would like to share with you what I have currently inked in my fountain pens. I thought it was time again. I haven't done one of these in a while. I'm not really on a month-to-month rhythm, at least not yet, with my currently inks or switching out inks. So I'm curious to see how that all is gonna evolve over time. But yeah, without further ado, let's start with the first ink. And I do think I'm gonna zoom you in just slightly. I think that's gonna be a little better because you do want to see the inks, don't you? And so we are starting with Tono&Lims Dear Bear. It's this really beautiful, I call it a honey yellow, which is very fitting to call it Dear Bear and have it like a honey yellow. It's a very like poo-esque color for sure. And if you have seen the bottle, you know that the label actually does have a bear that looks quite similar to Pooh Bear, like a stuffed animal bear on the label, which is very, very cute. This I've had inked for a while. I first had it in one of my Benu Pixies, and then I moved it into the Benu Milk&Honey because I thought that was very fitting. So far, ooh, things hopping away from me. So far, this has been a very lovely ink. Yeah, and so I have it in my Benu Milk&Honey because I think that's just a perfect match. It writes really well. It's very well behaved. It has some nice shading, even in this fine nib. I do think that I liked it more in the medium nib, simply because it really shows off the caramelly colors, I feel like. So, Dear Bear. I think that name is just so cute. And this is the Benu Milk&Honey. Whoop. Milk&Honey. With a vine. And I thought I would have enough space to do some little doodles. But I think the little rectangles that I drew out for me is not quite. And this is supposed to be a bee. Not sure. Yeah, I think I could even zoom you in even further, huh? Let's get real up and close. Okay. I think that's okay. Yeah, do you see that? It has some yellow in there. It has some more darker brown caramels, almost like a little bit of a red maybe if you did like a chroma shading. Not chroma shading, chromatography. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some darker tones in there to give it that caramel color. Yeah, I think this is lovely, and I've definitely been really enjoying this in this pen as well. So that's a wonderful combination. And then next up is another Tono&Lims color. This is called Hannari, or at least that's how I pronounce it. And it is a really bright coral pink. It has a hint of neon or fluorescence to it without actually being neon or fluorescent. When you write with it, it does look like a very soft, corally, bright pink. And I mentioned this before, the camera doesn't quite pick up that true fluorescent color because cameras just don't seem to do well with the neon and the neon, I guess. So it comes off a little more dull than it is in person, which is kind of unfortunate. And I have this inked in my Leonardo Momento Zero in the angel skin. So beautiful. So I thought that went well together. Super corally pink. And again, flows very well. I did put a drop of white lightning into my sample vial because I had it inked in a different pen before and it wasn't really flowing well. And so I went ahead and put that in, but I'm not quite sure if I needed that. I think, Leonardo, I think it would have been fine in just by itself. Sorry, I was thinking there. And so, yeah, I don't know if that's necessary. I think it had more to do with the pen than it did with the ink itself. And I think it's really legible. I think the writing on camera looks more true to color than the swatch does. So that maybe gives you an idea of what this color is. I love these kinds of shades, and I feel like they're hard to pull off because, again, they can become quite garish, quite in your face, which you wouldn't want, or maybe you do. I shouldn't say that. Maybe you do want to be hit with your ink colors in your face. I personally don't. So I think this is a perfect note, I would say. And what can we doodle? Do we just do our good standby, which is a cat? And so, yeah, I was really excited when I found this color because to me it is so spot on and it's such a bright, fun color for summer especially. So far, I've had this inked for a little bit now. So far, I haven't really used it all that much, and I'm not sure why, because I love it. Maybe, I don't know if you get that sometimes, where you like a color, but then when it comes to, for example, creating journal spreads, and you want to combine it with the stickers you have, with the washi tapes you have, it doesn't quite fit well, even though I do feel like it goes with a lot of the colors, or at least I thought it did, that I have around. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. We'll see how this goes because, again, I really love this ink and I really love the color. But yeah, it might be something where I think I want this as an ink color, but it turns out that I don't actually use it all that much. I'm sure you've had that happen before. Let me know what color has been like that for you. Now, next is a kind of like an interesting color. This is Octopus Write&Draw Brown Colibri. And I gotta be honest, I had sworn off a little bit of the Octopus Fluids Write&Draw inks because I couldn't quite remember which waterproof ink I had in my pilot last year that clogged the pen up so much that I had to get a new feed for it. And so I was a little hesitant to give this a try, but because there's been also so much talk about the Diamine Forever inks and their wonderful colors, I wanted to give this one another try just to compare again between the Diamine Forever ink and the Octopus Write&Draw. And the wonderful Simone has sent me the most generous mail, and within that I got 3 pens. 2 of them I have inked right now. We'll get to the second one in a little bit. And so she had sent me this Jinhao, I think it's an 80, Jinhao 80, that is modeled after the Lamy 2000. And so I figured, since it is a cheaper pen, not to diminish the the generosity of Simone of sending me this, I figured this is a good opportunity to figure out whether or not I like the Write&Draw inks and whether or not they clog up pens. And yeah, I mean, so far I think it's working pretty well. Octopus Fluids. Yeah. So far I can't complain. There's no sort of like crazy visible debris on the nib, at least in the front. There's a little bit of, maybe a little bit of caking there in the back. So we'll see how that develops. And this color in and of itself is, I think it can be a nice soft brown. It's maybe a little meek for my taste. I thought this would be maybe a little bit stronger in color, and this is, yeah, brown Colibri. I know that they always combine a color with an animal for their Write&Draw inks. Colibri. This nib writes really well. This is an F nib. And the pen is super lightweight. I do like the body a lot. I think this is a really good size for my hands, especially for drawing. I really like this and the smoothness of the pen body. I would assume that maybe the Lamy 2000 is a little bit heavier because of the way the body is made. I'm not sure about that though. I've never experienced Lamy 2000, but I would be curious after using this one, so that's really cool. And then maybe because it's a brown, we'll just do a little mug. It is definitely waterproof. I have so far had no issues with it feathering or bleeding into the watercolor when I go over this. So it is definitely true that these are waterproof. But so far I'm not super impressed by the color itself. So I don't know if I necessarily would go out and buy this over one of the Diamine Forever inks, if I'm honest. Okay, next up we have another Benu. This is the, oh no, wait, the other way around. I think I show you the colors before I, and speaking of which, that's why I had these in the order that they have it in. I did go ahead and finally ordered my first Diamine Forever ink. I know I waited a long time for how much I love using my fountain pens for drawing and using them with watercolor. It took me a while. And then this color in particular I felt like was the most sold out everywhere. And then I got it from Jet Pens not too long ago, like last week. And so far I'm really, really happy with it. It definitely performs super well. I was playing around with some Midori cotton paper, and I love the feel of the cotton paper. However, for example, the Diatramentis waterproof inks feather like crazy on that paper, which I find fascinating. But yeah, this one does not. This stays crisp and smooth and really, yeah, shows up well. So yeah, I decided to ink that up in my Benu Pixie. I love this colorway so much. It is so precious. This is definitely my favorite of the trio that I got. And this has a medium nib. And yeah, it's nicely waterproof. And now I have the problem that, of course, Diamine, that I want the other colors as well, or some of the other colors. Yeah, so we'll slowly collect, and I think I'm gonna be very decisive of exactly what I think I need as a waterproof ink, or what colors I would wanna mix to use in my artwork, so that I don't end up with a crazy amount of Diamine Forever inks. Benu Pixie, and this is a medium. I do find that sometimes I like the wet version of this color better than the dried version. Sometimes it can get a little more muted. Once dry, it has a little bit more of a grayish beige overcast, if that makes sense. And so, what do we want to draw? Just a flower? And so I'm actually wondering if I could mix some of their honey pot, the orange color, in with this one to give it a little bit more of an oomph. Just a hint, just a smidge, or even the solar yellow. I don't know. I would want to play around with that. Maybe get samples of both the honey pot as well as the solar yellow and just try and see which one I would want to mix that with. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see. Okay, the one here at the bottom is going to be a Lennon toolbar. This is the red beans color. And it definitely really looks like red beans. That is very aptly named or very aptly captured the look of red beans. I find here also that I often like the ink color better when it's still wet because it dries down a little bit more muted than what it comes out to when it's wet. And I do love the shade of the color, like the hue and everything. I feel like it's maybe the driest of the, or one of the driest of the Lennon Toolbar inks that I have tried so far. But I'm also not quite sure if that's because of the pen I have it in. So this is a Sailor Pro Gear Slim Mini with a medium fine nib. And so it doesn't really, I like it. I like the shade of it, but it doesn't really do much else. Like, it's a pretty flat color. And so, again, I don't know if that's because of the medium fine nib, that I would have more fun with this in a wetter, broader nib. So I would have to try that out. And yeah. I do find myself reaching for this though, and I actually had to re-ink this a little bit, but that's also because I've started transcribing a book with this, which I can show you once we're done swatching. I can show you some examples of some of these inks in action. Yeah, because here I am saying that I don't feel too keenly about the look of the thing, so the look of the writing, and yet this is the only pen that I've already had to refill, so you know, there's that. But that might also have to do with the pen. The pen is relatively new, and I'm so excited to play with this and figure out how much I like Sailor nibs. And spoiler alert, I've ordered another Sailor because I felt like I needed to also try out a medium. So yeah, kind of interesting dynamic with this ink and pen pairing. But right now I wouldn't go out and buy a bottle of this. I think I can find an ink that is in a similar shade to this, which might flow better or have more interesting things going on. So there's that. Move you back up. And let's get into the greens. I actually have 3 green inks inked right now, which is a lot, like, in terms of the overall color assortment. But I am having a blast using green inks. Really, really fun. So the first one is Diamine Wagner, or Wagner, if you want to say it with an American accent. And this sample was sent to me by Simone in the care package, or in the happy mail, however you want to call that. I actually, it's really funny, I have 2 ink sample, or 2 inks inked up from Simone's mail. I have 2 pens inked up from Simone's mail. And then I have another pen that I got from Simone, I think 2 years ago, which I won in one of her giveaways on her YouTube channel. So Simone is my pen and ink fairy. I hope she doesn't mind me calling her that, but yeah. Very, very cool. Very generous. So this is an interesting green. This is very yellow leaning. Like, it has a lot of yellow. It's very bright, but it's very fun. And yeah, here's the pen. No, that's not true. Hold on. Getting all mixed up here. And it combines well with some of the other greens that I have inked. So that's been really fun to pick out colors that I not only like as a standalone color, but where I feel like it pairs well with other colors. So I inked this up in my Pilot Custom Heritage 912. And unsurprising, this is a very well working combination. Nope, Diamine. I don't know what I was thinking there. And that is the Wagner. I think for being in this nib, which is a soft medium fine, but it's actually ground down to a 0.4 nib, so it's a bit slimmer than it was factory new, if you can call it that. Pilot. And so I think it's maybe a little light. Like, I wouldn't want to do, say, a long entry in my commonplace book with this necessarily. I think I would find that a little too light. Yeah, I don't know. Because of how it shades, there are some letters that are obviously lighter than others. And something that I've also noticed with those kinds of super shading colors, especially in finer nibs, then the overall page, the overall text looks a little bit more fizzy. I don't know if that's a good word, but yeah, I find it harder to focus on the text. So yeah, that's really interesting. An interesting thing to notice. So yeah, I don't know if do you know what I mean? Does that happen to anyone else about shading in inks? But overall, very lovely color. I think it's so fresh. I love those kinds of greens that are very warm. So yeah, I think this is a really, really fun color. And I feel like I got my order mixed up. I'm a little confused, but let's keep going with the greens then, so that the greens are all together. Next up, my third Tono&Lims ink. I had ordered all these samples together when I ordered my red edition Traveler's Notebook from M. Lovewell. So yeah, that's why they're all inked. This is called Buds Are Coming Out, which is another super cute ink name. And this is a lovely, I think it would still fall into the sage green color family. Yeah, or like a eucalyptus. It's a very soft green, lots of blue undertones. And we'll see if it comes out in this swatch, because sometimes this one has pinky notes, like grayish pinky notes, which is super cute. It doesn't always show up though, so we'll see if it does here, or if the camera picks it up. And I have this inked in my Lamy, just a regular Lamy Safari in this minty color. I really like this ink. Again, it flows super well. And I like the shade. I like how much blue there is in there, but it's still a green, and it's soft and muted, and yet it still has something going for it, you know? So yeah, really, really nice. I don't know if I need this because I already have Ghost Plant from Lennon Toolbar. Buds are coming out. So I'm not quite sure if I would need a bottle of this, even though I really enjoy this ink and I really enjoy the color it has. So let's draw some buds. Maybe we have some earth here and we have multiple buds. Yeah, so overall really, really nice, very well behaved. I am turning into a little bit of a Tono&Lims fangirl because they've been, yeah, they've been really working well for me. Yeah, can you see that? There's like a beigey, pinky undertone there. It doesn't quite show up in the writing as much, but yeah. I also don't know if the Lamy nibs would, you know, have something to do with that, but that's not quite coming out in the writing. But yeah, really, really pretty, and I love using that one. And then for the last green, which I've actually only inked up this morning, is the Wearingeul Tinkerbell, another sample provided by Simone, and let's agitate the shimmer maybe, because it keeps sitting in the bottom here. Oh well. This is such a pretty color. Unfortunately, it comes out quite light in the pen that I put it in. And I'm assuming that that's probably a universal experience. But the shade of it is so pretty with that gold shimmer. I inked this up, even though I have all of the other green inks also inked up. But I really want to see... Whoa, I'm getting ink all over the place. I wanted to find out if I like shimmer inks. I mean, I know that I like the look of them when I look at swatches online, but do I like using it? It's similar to the Hannari, right? I can like a color and then find out that I don't like writing with it, or that I don't seem to pick it up. So I have this inked in, this is the Twsbi that I won from Simone. And this is a medium nib, and you can barely read this. I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna... Oh no, this is not Tono&Lims. What am I thinking? It's Wearingeul. Or Wearing... however you say that. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna... Oops. Really like writing with this, even though it is so pretty. Maybe this is more of a use it with a brush in larger areas on some drawings and paintings, or use it with my Kakimori nib, because that dumps out so much ink. You know, that might be a way to go. But yeah. I don't think I'm a person who can get over how light that is. Then I feel like I have to put so much pressure on the paper, and that's not good. Not good for my hand, not good for the paper. All that good stuff. Oh, I did want to mention, I had my custom ink mix in here, the mica mix one that we did on the video together. I dumped that out because it started to change color, like it was starting to become a lot more gray than it used to be, and so I was a little concerned, and so yeah, we swapped that out for Wearingeul Tinkerbell. All right, next up, another one of ink bottle for a change. This is the Sailor Tea Time, and I think this color is so cute. It has such a soft 70s vibe, which I obviously love. So really, really cute. And so I also felt like I needed a more of a strong brown in this lineup. Oof, but that smell. Still can't get over the Sailor ink smell. Yeah. I mean, I know because I just recently got the Butterscotch, I mean, that's pretty, but even that is relatively light, and I'm still unsure about this Write&Draw ink. I wanted one brown that is a, like, go-to writing ink. And I have this inked up in the second pen that I got from Simone. This is a Asvine. Oh, P something. I am blanking now. So it has the piston filler and it's modeled after the Leonardo Momento Zero, I think. I mean, looks pretty similar to me. And I gave this pen the nickname, though, of being my Tigger pen, because this color and with the black in there, it just reminds me of Tigger. So yeah, also a pretty combination. This is already the second ink I put in this pen. I had a sample of Lit de Thé by Gerabin, and I went through the entire sample. I loved drawing with that ink so much, and it flowed so well out of this nib that, yeah, I used that up, so I definitely have to get a bottle of that. So yeah, now we're on to Sailor Afternoon Tea. And again, it's such a great ink to combine with other inks. Like, I think it pairs well with a lot of colors. I do think I might enjoy it a little bit better in a bit of a finer nib. I think once you get into a juicy nib like this is a medium, and a juicy medium at that, it becomes a little too red leaning for me, maybe. So yeah, I think I like it in a finer nib. So that's something to maybe consider changing next time. But I still love it. It's a really lovely ink. And to some it might seem maybe more of a fall ink, but yeah, I like this kind of color all year round. And I just smushed right into the other ink blob. Okay, zoom you back out so you can sort of see. You can see the general color palette. I'm thinking of this as a soft summer color palette. That sort of is what I have in my mind. So we have a nice warm yellow. We have a bright pink, but then we also have more of the brownish colors and a little bit of a almost purple. I guess I would call that a purple, and some different blues. I think of this as sitting under a tree, reading a book, maybe on a soft blanket. That's kind of what these colors are giving me, or what I was thinking about. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the shimmer on camera. It's actually, is that gold, or is that like a soft champagne-y rose gold? Yeah, I'm not quite sure how I would describe that, but yeah, really cool. I do have one other Twsbi inked up. This is inked with Tom Studio Pigment Black, which I just use for drawing. I didn't swatch that out because it's just black. And so, yeah, this has been more or less permanently inked. Although now with how well the Diamine inks are working out, I might also pick up the instead of picking up the Tom Studio, I might pick up the Raven from the Diamine collection. We'll see. But I figured I'd show you some examples if you're happy to stick around for a little bit. And actually, I can't close this yet. Show you how oh no, I need that notebook. Show you some examples of how I've been using these. I thought that might be fun. If you want to stay for a little bit longer. And so, yeah, so I definitely wanted to show you what I meant with the Lennon Toolbar Red Beans. This is a Leuchtturm notebook, so maybe I should mention that ahead of time. And I am transcribing Finn Family Wearingeul by Tove Jansson. And again, like, I like the color, but that's about it. Like, I don't know. It has a little bit of a flatness to it. And I feel like that's happening on all the papers, not just the Leuchtturm paper. And so far I've found that the Leuchtturm paper keeps colors pretty accurate. So there's that. Yeah. I do like sketching with it too, but I don't think I have anything to show you there. Yeah. But I did want to show you this page right here. This was actually done with this darker green is my mica mix that I dumped out this morning because I felt like it was starting to change color and I don't know what that means. But I paired it with the Wagner for the title and for the date number. And you know, see what I mean? The Wagner goes so well with other greens. It brings a sort of freshness to the spread and it breaks it up, but it doesn't look foreign. So I think that's really nice. Yeah, and then this drawing right here, the lines are done with the Colibri, the brown Colibri, the Write&Draw ink, and so I went over it with watercolor. And as you can see, the colors, the lines are not blurred or anything. But yeah, the color is not something too fancy. And then what else can I show you? Well, here we have a writing sample and a drawing sample of the Tono&Lims Dear Bear. You can see that there, really cute color. Quite enjoy that. And I feel like this is the kind of yellow that can work in the summer, but it can also really easily be an autumn color because it has that warmth to it. So yeah, there's that. And then here we have an example of the Tono&Lims. The buds are coming out. That's what that looks like here. And then I think this is another Colibri drawing, if I'm not mistaken. This one and the moth as well. The lines of that. And then here's an example of the Butterscotch. This drawing was done with the Kakimori ink, the Kakimori tip nib. And I love how saturated inks get when you draw with that nib because it dumps so much ink. It looks so pretty. Like this right here is so yummy how it goes from the lighter shade to the darker. So pretty. And the Butterscotch itself is written with the Kakimori ink. I keep doing that. With the Kakimori nib. And then the Diamine is written with it in the Benu Pixie. So you can see the difference there, how much it lightens up once you put it in a pen and not from a dip nib. And then the writing is also done, obviously, once it was in the pen. So a little bit of a difference, but yeah, I still like it either way. But again, like I might try and play around with adding, or maybe adding a red. What do you think? If you've done some color mixing, or also if you know the Diamine inks, let me know if there is an ink color that you would say would work best to mix into the Butterscotch to make it just a little bit more, you know? I don't know if that makes any sense. All right, I think I've kept you long enough, and I'm just rambling on. Maybe we can bring the colors in one more time. Yeah, so far I'm really, really happy. It's going to be interesting to see. I think this one is the first one that's going to change probably. But yeah, I'll keep you posted, I'm sure. And so thank you so much for joining me for this chatting about colors and inks and fountain pens. It's really, really fun. Colors are just fun, and I love how this hobby just allows us to share in colors and in chatting about colors. You rarely get such a community who's so committed to color. I think it's just wonderful. It's very, very great. All right, enough of that. I feel like I'm in a chatty mood, so I can't seem to stop talking. Thank you so much for joining me, for sharing this time with me. I hope you're doing well, and let me know if you have a favorite in this lineup. And until next time, happy journaling.